Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
So we'll get back to that later on. Right now, we have Larry Pratt, who is the president of Gun Owners of America, a nonprofit lobbying organization formed in 1975 to preserve and defend the Second Amendment of gun owners. See, folks, these are the real deal. They're not the NRA. They're not all about gun regulation and grabbing your semi-automatic and automatic weapons, but they're pro-Second Amendment. Larry, thank you for joining me.
Well, it's a pleasure to be with you. Thanks for having me.
No, thanks for coming on the show. You know, we had a caller earlier today asking about conceal and carry permits, and I know that it differs from state to state. You know, in New York, where I live, it's awfully hard to get one. I believe he was out of South Dakota. Do you know anything about the regulations there?
There, as far as concealed carry regulations are concerned, because there are two states that happily have none. You just carry as a matter of right, Vermont and Alaska. But South Dakota is certainly among the most easy to get permit, and a huge percentage of the population. At one time, I think there was something like at least a tenth of the adult population has such a permit, which is partly explainable because it has been on the books. Their law has been on the books so long, and we see that every year that there's something like this on the books, more and more people get around to taking advantage of it. And, you know, the pity is that Americans have grown accustomed to thinking that we can't do something without the government telling us that we can do it. We think it's better to have a permit law than a prohibition, but we certainly think it's much better still to have something like Vermont or Alaska where no permit is needed.
Yeah, and it's not like crime is out of control in Vermont. In fact, it's one of the nicest places that I visit up in the Northeast. When I get out of upstate New York, it's gorgeous. The people are great. You would never really know that, you know, people were carrying weapons because it's just so second nature. There is no real violence there.
I asked a police official one time in their state police. It's an issue that comes up when you're talking to politicians and police officials, not necessarily rank and file, in other states, and especially when concealed carry, making it easier for concealed carry legislation comes up. I said, so how do you guys handle the fact that there's no computer database available to the state police when they pull somebody over, otherwise are approaching a suspect? How do they handle not knowing whether or not the guy has a concealed carry permit since you don't have them? He said, well, listen, any police officer, regardless of what his computer is telling him that the person he just pulled over, whatever, he has no concealed carry permit, therefore I can go up there chewing bubble gum and looking at the stars. He's putting his life in his hands. And he'd better assume, he doesn't have to be a jerk about it, but he just better be on his guard that the guy could be armed, because the bad guy isn't going to be in the system anyway.
Yeah, exactly. The guy that's actually going to pull a gun on you isn't going to be the guy that has the conceal and carry permit, the guy that has warrants out for his arrest and knows it, and knows if he has an interaction with this cop more than 5 minutes that he's going to jail. And that's when you see, I see him all the time when you're watching Spike TV and you're watching these confrontations. It's never a guy with an actual permit. It's the guys outside of the car, waiting for the officer to move, and then they shoot him.
In fact, the one advantage that I can think of, and it's a temporary advantage, I would like, of having concealed carry permit holders, is that when you do the research and you find out what the crime rate is among those folks versus the rest of the population that does not have them, the folks that are carrying concealed and have a permit to do so have about 90 to 95% less violent crime than the rest of the population.
Crown, another ragtag band declaring
independence. What a novel word, independence. You do things on your own. Free human being, sovereign human being. Who knew? Before we go back to Larry Pratt of Gun Owners of America, I want to talk about one of our great sponsors out there, survivalistseeds.com. Really no gimmicks, folks. You want food, grow it yourself. You can get some of the best seeds out there over at survivalistseeds.com. They help us pay the bills, and they help people have real food. And we're going to talk about that in about an hour or so when we have Jonas Stolzwitz and Maurice Thompson on. But, it's always nice to have the insurance policy. And where I live in upstate New York, I've got like a small little garden, and it's actually fun for me and my 4-year-old niece to go out there and pick some tomatoes. She loves it, and she picks the snap peas off the wire, and it's fun. And then we go have a nice good salad or dinner. It's good stuff. Survivalistseeds.com. All right, let's go back to Larry Pratt of Gun Owners of America. And Larry, before you tell the listeners about this D.C. Supreme Court ruling that I believe it happened over the summer, why don't you tell people where they can get their information from you?
Gunowners.org, best place to go. You could call us toll-free at 888-888-6-GUNS or 888-886-GUNS, G-U-N-S. But the place where you get direct access immediately to the information we've got is at gunowners.org. You'll find, in fact, I think we still have it for today, maybe, a commentary that I did on this D.C. court decision, the Heller case. It's right there on our main page, and we will shortly have up an email alert dealing with the Holder nomination, a very concerning one, and there will be an opportunity if you go there to gunowners.org and open that alert for Holder. You'll be able, or against him actually, you'll be able to send an email to the senators telling them to put some backbone and oppose this guy. We're in a desperate fight. If he becomes the Attorney General, it's just one more sign that the Republicans are not going to be of any help, that they don't have it figured out yet, that they have been so successively unsuccessful in the last elections, several elections really, because they have decided to become Democrat light, and the base doesn't want Democrat real or Democrat light. They want something that's constitutional, that stands up and opposes these guys, and the Republicans are still not, by and large, I mean, there are exceptions, but most of them have not gotten the message.
Yeah, and I don't think they're going to get the message either. I mean, the two
Well, they're
parties...
not called the stupid party for nothing.
Well, both parties at this point seem so amalgamated into one agenda. I mean, even the debates are just, they're milk toast. It seems like
Absolutely.
they'll say, not only will they say one thing, but, they'll lean towards somebody, but they don't actually take a real position saying, hey, this is what's going to happen when I'm in the presidency. We'll see what we can do, and of course you have the right to own a gun, but then they don't tell you about all these regulations that are going to come with that. So Why don't you discuss that D.C., basically what you have to do to get a gun in D.C. now?
Well, first of all, we can say that the Heller decision did one thing that was particularly helpful. It said that the Second Amendment does actually protect an individual right. Now, we knew that all along. The Constitution said that all along. But the importance of the Supreme Court saying that is that the lower courts have to deal with that. If they don't, that on its face becomes an appealable issue and makes it easier to get bad decisions at the lower federal court level brought to the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. That's going to be important because there's a lot of things that the Heller decision did not touch on, and it means that they're still up for grabs, and there's going to be a lot of litigating between now and when the cows come home. The Heller decision said two things, which were really the only two things in front of the court. So in fairness, which is kind of hard for me to do, but in fairness to the court, that's what they should have done, was to just simply rule on those two things. And they came to the right conclusion on both. It's unconstitutional to ban handguns, and it is unconstitutional to require the encumbrance on other allowable guns, the long guns that the district so graciously allows people to have, had to be encumbered with a trigger lock, and they had to be kept in a safe, and if they were ever brought out and used for self-defense the way the law was written, that would have been breaking the law.
Yeah, it just seems so ridiculous that I'm supposed to keep my gun in a safe if there's something going on in my house and I need my gun. Yeah. I mean, I might have to reach for it in a time I don't have time to punch in a code. Who knew? It's the Alex Jones Show. I'm Jason Burmis with Larry Pratt. We'll be back after this. Infowars.com, prisonplanet.tv.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold for your IRA? The financial industry refuses to recognize the value of real hard assets for your retirement. The truth be told, gold and silver has outperformed paper investments like stocks, bonds, and CDs, yet no word about IRAs. Perhaps the financial institutions want to maintain control of your assets by keeping you in paper. Call 800-686-2237. That's 1-800-686-2237.